What is going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Catching Up with Dynasty. We're super excited for BFPGear to be sponsoring Dynasty this year. And what we're going to do is bring you as much content as possible. We're going to do these episodes as often as possible. We're going to catch up with the players, find out how practice went, how events went, and any other information we can bring you related to Dynasty. You're going to see them in these episodes. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, definitely do that. Hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications because you're not going to want to miss this. Let's welcome our first guest, none other than Yosh Rau of San Diego Dynasty. He's also a part owner of Field One Paintball. He's been with Dynasty since 2003, I believe. Let's welcome Yosh. Yosh, thank you very much for being the first guest on Catch Up with Dynasty. We're going to throw a few questions at you, just touch base. But first of all, how's things going with you?
Things are going great. Thank you first for, having me on. I think this is going to be a cool opportunity for, Dynasty fans and, fans of our sponsors and stuff to have a look inside at what each individual player is doing and, catch me on a random Friday, but things are going well. We're working away here at Field One headquarters. I don't know if everybody knows this, but Field One headquarters, Hormesis headquarters, and Dynasty headquarters all basically operate out of the same building here. So it's busy, and it's a cool thing to be able to come to the office and work amongst your best friends, and everybody's kind of working on the same projects together, and that's cool. But yeah, it's been busy. Home life is good. I will say I'm very excited to get back into the swing of the season. We had our first practice last weekend. We weren't able to get the entire team together, but we got the majority of the guys together and had a great weekend. And it was nice for me to, knock off some of that rust. I mean, obviously, it's always a work in progress, but that first weekend of official team practice is always a good one.
Yeah, it's always nice just to get the guys back together, catch up, and get in the swing of it, right?
Yeah.
So before we jump into how that went, one of the reasons I want to do these sort of episodes is to ask questions that sort of I'd like to have more information out there about or understand more. And in the intro, I said that, we're super proud to be sponsoring Dynasty this year, BFPGear is. And one of those big reasons was the Champs Club. I just love the fact that you guys are so accessible to whether it's the Champs Club or the fans in general. And that's a big deal to me as a paintball fan. So can you tell us a little bit about like the Champs Club? How's it been going? We're a year in now, I think, just over.
Certainly. Yeah. So, I mean, the Champs Club idea was really formed off of an original idea that the team started with, which was, from the very beginning, offering paintball players and fans and other players that are like coming up through the divisions that might look up to Dynasty, always, doing our best to provide access and being, there and supporting other paintball players and giving people a look at what we're doing. The team has always been run off of this sponsorship model, and what goes along with, representing your sponsors well and providing good value to your sponsors is being, with the people who are going to be supporting you by buying those products. Since then, obviously, Dynasty has become a little bit bigger brand. And really that is because we have such great supporters and fans. And we've realized that, every year when we have, the opportunity to go out and play paintball together as a team, and, certain aspects of that are covered by the team because we have great sponsors. That is all because we have great supporters and fans at the base of that. And so, about a year and a half ago, we were talking about, ways to continue to push Dynasty forward and make sure that we could stay competitive, support the players that are dedicating a big part of their lives to the team and to being a competitive pro player. And, this idea of a membership where people could get even further access to the team could feel like they were, a part of a special group that was getting, special stuff designed by Dynasty or stuff that was created by our sponsors specifically for the team, we would be able to share that with these members as well. And beyond that, this idea of, there's the greater paintball community, but I think, recently we've all kind of seen that there are like these really tight communities within paintball as well. And maybe they're formed off of a brand or a team or a local store or local paintball community. But there's no doubt that, these communities are special places for paintball players to be. And we thought, Dynasty certainly has that too. I mean, we already have like friends and supporters that, travel to every event with us, help in the pits, come to practices. It's really amazing. And we thought, let's just do, let's create a group where it's kind of an extension of that, and we can provide these really cool special experiences and opportunities for people who love Dynasty. And the Dynasty Champions Club was born. It's a membership platform. So basically you sign up for like 3 months at a time, and it's a subscription thing. So if you're happy, you want to stay in it, it rolls through the next quarter, and every month you get, a special gift from Dynasty. Usually this is either sponsored gear that the team is getting, or it's gear, apparel, special stuff that Dynasty is actually making specifically for Champs Club. We do a lot of personalized items. So, members might get a Dynasty jersey with their name on it, or, a special Champs Club Dynasty jacket that has their name on it. All the members of the team get that as well. And it's really been a cool thing because as it's grown, and each event, we see and meet more and more of the members, and we have a monthly intel session where we talk about kind of the inner workings of the team, new things that have come up, with the league and sponsors. Members have an opportunity to interact through that intel session, interact through a private Facebook group. There's a whole lot of parts to it, and ultimately it's been really rewarding for me. I work a lot on it, to make sure that members are getting, their gifts every month. We design products, we send out gifts. There's a lot of communication back and forth. It's been really fulfilling for me to have that type of contact with our Dynasty fans and supporters.
Yeah.
And I know the team has really felt it too. Dynasty wouldn't be positioned in the way it's positioned right now, with the success it's had on the field. I can say that without the support from, our Champs Club members.
Yeah, I think it's what I noticed being in the Champs Club myself and seeing the interaction from the players in that private Facebook group that you were talking about, and seeing the interaction from the players at events at the Champs Club Hangout, which is a special area where it's only accessible by Champs Club members. They get to talk to the players, listen to team meetings or whatever it is. That's a real special thing, right? I know as a young kid growing up, to have that type of access would be phenomenal, right? Like
Right.
to be so close to those pros. You in the past, years and years ago, you'd almost have to just slowly keep creeping towards the team's huddle to listen to what they had to say. And if a pro looked at you afterwards, you'd be like, oh my God. So now to give people that access, because there is other industries that do monthly memberships and you get a free gift, but you don't get that access. And I think that is 100% the key to the success.
That's really what it's about. I mean, it's about, actually having contact with people who love Dynasty, and the players actually getting contact from, our biggest supporters. I mean, that is the main value of the club. There's also the intel sessions and the monthly gift, and we do like a grand prize giveaway every quarter. Those to me are extras. I mean, everybody has their reason for being in the club. But the main thing, like you said, is really about, giving access and having a tight-knit community. And it's just, up to this point, it's really the relationships with the members and with the team has really been kind of the thing that's been the most important thing to me so far.
If one of the big monthly giveaways last year, if you had to pick one, which is your favorite one that made you the happy?
Yeah, I mean, we did some different things, right? So the first quarter, we we gave a Champs Club member their own Dynasty force, and they got to design it as a signature series force. And for me, because the Field One force is, in my wheelhouse and so close to my heart, I know how special of a feeling that is, for you to have a signature series Dynasty gun that you designed, right? Like you put your little spin of personality on it. And that member actually came to Field One headquarters when that gun came back from anodizing. Outlaw Anodizing did it. They did an awesome job. And that member came to Field One headquarters and built it here and, went to lunch with the crew. And it was a cool experience. I'd say that one was probably the most special. The other one that I really loved was that in summertime, I think it must have been quarter 3. A member got to come out to an official team practice and practice as a member of Dynasty.
That's the one I picked for my favorite, right?
Yeah. That one was super cool because it was about the interaction between that member, his name was Jake, and the team more than anything else, right? Like it wasn't about getting free gear or anything like that. It was just an experience. He came out, he was from Minnesota, hadn't been to the ocean for a really long time, I think since he was a kid, from what I remember. He was a member of the team for the weekend. And to be honest, Jake was such an awesome member to win that I still feel like Jake is part of the team, like he doesn't come out to every practice now, but we talk from time to time, and I consider him a friend now because we got to spend that weekend together. Yeah. And that was a really, really cool experience too. I mean, the other ones we did a full Dynasty sponsorship package for a player. That was really cool. And then the other one was it got a little derailed, but we picked a member to come to World Cup and basically traveled with the team to World Cup and kind of get that experience. They weren't going to get to play, but they got to come, stay at the team hotel, ride with the team to and from the field, sit in on meetings, basically, like the full Dynasty experience, short of bumping into Oliver Lang at the start box. But unfortunately, because of the weather at World Cup, all the flights got crazy, and that member wasn't able to take advantage of that. So instead, we're going to have that member come to a team practice here at the beginning of the year.
Oh, nice.
That was Randall. Yeah, I mean, any one of those I think is a really special thing. But my favorite ones are like the kind of intimate interaction between a Dynasty fan and the team. Getting to know the member a lot better and spending quality time together.
Nice. So if people wanted to find out more about this, where would they go to sign up? Or is there a waiting list? Is it maxed out? I don't know that.
So it typically does sell out every quarter. We have a wait list program. Basically, you sign up for $10 a month, and then you get like priority access to join at the end of each quarter. That's the Paintball Club membership that's available on the Dynasty website. So if you go to dynastypaintball.com, you can see a lot of information about Dynasty Champions Club, and then you have access to, if memberships are open, you can sign up through the Dynasty Paintball website for Champions Club. If memberships are not available because we're in the middle of a quarter, then you can sign up for Dynasty Paintball Club, which is the $10 a month club. And that basically just gives you, a secure spot in line for the next quarter. So
right. You're in the waiting room at that point, right? You're
exactly
going to be in. It's just when it falls. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that update. Of
course.
Let's jump into it. The off season. Obviously, the season's approaching fast. What's your thoughts on the off season? It's been a little crazy.
Yeah.
With free agents and moves, and obviously some of the moves affected Dynasty. What's your thoughts of the big off season?
Yeah, I mean, Junior, you and I have talked about this many times, many other off seasons, right? Like what's going on and how's it going to affect the team? I will say the professional paintball off season is my least favorite part about paintball, because you go through the season and everybody is totally locked in, and the focus is always like So the team is going to just focus completely on winning tournaments. You know, that's always how it's been for Dynasty. There's been some turnover every once in a while middle of the season, but that just stuff happens and then you move on from it. The off season is kind of this slow drag of like, you know, are we going to be able to keep the team together? You know, this guy got an offer. This guy is contemplating retirement. This guy is now getting an offer. This guy got an offer and wants to bring someone else with them. You know, like whatever the details of that are, for me, it always kind of feels like I'm trying to keep my band of friends together, you know, and I totally understand there's opportunities for players out there that sometimes you have to reach out and grab, right? And that's all part of it, and that's all part of being competitive. That's all part of, you know, having top tier players on the team, which we have only top tier players on our team, you know. But it's always a tough time for me, you know, like Dalton and Kyle leaving the team this off season. I have great personal relationships with those guys, you know. So while I am happy that they were able to go out and get a big paycheck, and that's going to help support them, support family, you know, allow them to pursue other adventures, I also kind of feel like, you know, those guys are leaving our tribe, and that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, a mix of feelings of sorts, right? Because you want them,
Yeah,
want Dalton to get that big paycheck, right? Because you know it's going to affect him. He has kids. He has a wife.
totally.
It's a plus, but then at the same time, like you said, it's breaking the band up a little bit.
Little bit, yeah. But you know, the dynasty has had to deal with that for a long time now, and you know, we have a really strong leadership group, which includes, you know, the team owners, the coach, other players on the team, and so with that, you know, there's always the opportunity to mature with the team and move forward, and that's what we have to always focus on. And so, you know, with every change that could be seen as a negative, you lose a guy who was like clearly a starter on the team. You know, there's an opportunity for something new and exciting to happen too. Opportunities for other guys that are already on the team to, you know, rise to the occasion. And then also opportunities for other players around the league to have their chance to, you know, play on Dynasty and prove themselves and learn and become a part of the core, you know. And that's just the natural turnover of any competitive thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. One door closes, and hopefully somebody else can come through and open it and be just as successful, if not more successful, right?
Right.
Um, Going from there, you already said you guys got together last weekend. Who did you play? How did it go? Real quick.
So we played in a pretty large practice ASG in Southern California. The Ironman, Aftermath, and NYX were all there. You know, the Ironmen were still kind of in the process of finalizing some tryouts and figuring out who was going to be on their roster. And I kind of feel like we're at that point in the off season still where a lot of teams are doing that. You know, I mean, I feel like we're pretty locked in, but you know, it was an interesting dynamic with another team having a tryout while you're practicing, you know, but also a really high quality practice because of the 4 teams that were there, and everybody was there, you know, not practicing on a layout. So it was a pretty low stress thing, but everyone was there competing. And, you know, we had good weather, paint shot great, competition was high. We were missing a couple of our guys. I think Marcelo and Archie, and Arturo had some other things going on that weekend, but we did get together and had a couple guys guesting and had our new guy, Chris Schehr, come out. And Chris is an awesome guy and an awesome player, and I'm super excited to have him on the team. He came in, fit right in. You know, he was like, for me, he's a guy that the team has really been watching pretty closely for a couple of seasons, you know. And there was a time during this offseason that we thought we were going to keep our entire World Cup squad together, you know. And with that in mind, it's like, okay, we have a full roster and we're probably not going to make any moves, and we got our whole thing together. I mean, as soon as the Dalton and Kyle thing happened, it was like, okay, let's take a serious look at, you know, these guys that we've been considering talking to for a couple seasons and see what's going on. And I mean, Chris did not disappoint. Chris is going to be the player that we all thought he was going to be. He's got the ability to play like the slow team ball game, and he also, has already demonstrated in my mind, that he understands when he's got the ball and it's time to make a move. And I think he's just going to be such a great addition to the team. He's going to work well with all the guys that are already on the team, and we're really excited about that.
Nice. Yeah, you hit that. I was going to ask you about Chris and how he fit in. So perfect. I'll change that a little bit. You said
that was a big part of getting together for the weekend, right? Is like to understand how Chris is going to fit in, and also for Chris to have the opportunity to come out and play with his new teammates.
Yeah.
New gear, shooting a force for the first time, and wearing JT goggles, which he hasn't. I don't know if I didn't ask him if he'd actually worn those before, but
possibly
I know he hasn't been for a long time, and playing with new players, and it's cool.
So with Chris, you did say that you'd kept your eye on him for a couple of seasons, or at least been watching him. Is that sort of like the process for Dynasty? Because Dynasty doesn't really have tryouts, right? So is that
right?
What you do? You got a few people in the back of your mind. If anything happens, if we've got to move this piece to this way, and do.
Yeah, I don't know that collectively we organize it that way, but I think individually, every player on the pro circuit is like kind of like constantly keeping this list, and sometimes that list is just made of players who are like a pain in the ass to play against. Sometimes that's how guys get on the list. Sometimes you watch enough film or you watch enough of the games in person, and you see like this guy is constantly making a difference out there. This guy is like such a critical piece to his team. He knows how to do it himself. He knows how to play well. He brings other players up to, the level that they need to be at to win. And so you kind of like gain an appreciation for the players you're playing against. At least that's how it goes for me, right? And then a situation comes up with a team where it's like, okay, we wanted to carry 10 players into the season. We're down to 8 now. Who should we be talking to? And then, some people voice their opinion, and you sometimes you have like this very clear consensus, like, yeah, a bunch of people have mentioned Chris. We should reach out to him.
Yeah, good. Obviously, it's so early in the off season. The only really, or late in the off season now, early in the season, the only big change I think regarding for the pros is this one weekend of practice instead of 2. What's your opinion on only seeing the layout the Wednesday, the weekend before? So you're going to get one weekend, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. I kind of see it as this weird compromise where, I think that there's a strong argument for giving the layout 2 weeks ahead of time or more, right? And allowing teams to really polish their game and game plans by having the layout and, having lots of weekend days to practice on it. And that brings a professional element to the sport, right? Because teams get to show up at the event, and every team, would have the opportunity to feel like, okay, we had all the days we needed to practice on this layout, and now the concert is here. All the rehearsals are behind us, and the concert is here. We're going to play our best, right? The other argument is that, there's a distinct advantage for maybe the better funded teams or the teams who pay their players so they don't have as strict, every day of the week jobs. And so, having blind layouts is a more even way to do it because everyone shows up. You can practice as much as you want, but you're not going to gain an advantage because you got more days on the layout, right? That's like, those are the two kind of contrasting viewpoints on it. This decision to go to just one layout weekend is kind of a strange compromise in my mind. I think what it does is it narrows the window to practice on the layout, which again, I think it actually makes it a bigger disadvantage for teams that are less funded because it really locks them into having to play that one weekend and trying to stretch that one weekend as long as they possibly can to get as many points or as much time on the layout that they can. And it also means that, let's say your practice is all set up and you're dialed in, you've got a good team to play against on that one layout weekend, but you have bad weather, you're going to have a bad practice. You're not going to have the opportunity to play it in the way that it might be played at the event. And that's it. That's your shot. You don't have the next weekend to say like, okay, we got something out of that last weekend because at least we were on the field naming bunkers and stuff like that. But we're going to see how it really plays this weekend of practice. And so that's somewhat limiting, and that's going to cause some problems for teams. The other thing about it is these well-funded teams, and Dynasty is going to try to maximize our time on the layout as well. But there's other teams that are very well-funded, and they're going to play for 5 or 6 days on the layout. They're going to play as soon as the layout comes out, and they're probably going to play at least some amount of time each of the days leading up to the event. And so I think what that's going to do is it's going to give them a bigger
we're going to see that gap get even bigger from the dump.
Right. And so I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it works out, but I think it's kind of a funky approach to what the two stated issues are. The compromise is not really where I would have gone with it. I would have chosen one or the other and just, rode that out. But at the end of the day, everyone is playing the same game, right? So, I mean, it's just like if the weather's bad in one part of the country and teams can't practice, that's just part of it. If the weather's bad at the tournament, everyone's playing in that weather. It's just part of it.
Yeah. I think from a field owner standpoint, I liked the 2 weeks prior, and not because we have a lot of NXL teams coming out, but our local players actually get excited to play on the layout, then watch Go Sports, and I hear them at the field talking about it. Man, I didn't even think of that. Did you see that team? They did this. We never even realized. And
certainly,
I think the exciting part for non-tournament players, non-NXL teams, right? Where now at least they've still got the weekend before. And I know for a fact we like to keep it up a little bit after too, because people like to watch Go Sports and see how the pros do it. And then they come out to the park and you hear them talking about it and playing on the same layout. So it's good to keep it up for a few after as well.
Right. And the other part is for really busy parks that have a lot of teams that want to play on the layout, putting it all on one weekend makes that a little difficult. If you have one layout field, which a lot of parks have one dedicated field to the layout, some have two, very few have more than that. If you're really busy, there's only so much game time. There's only so much daylight that you can offer on the weekend. And if you have multiple teams that are all trying to get spots, then it becomes difficult, right? But if you can spread that out over 2 weekends, it just becomes a little bit easier. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I would think there's lower divisional teams that like to practice the weekend where the layout's not going to be released now, but it used to be, and then take the weekend off because they're trying to make sure they've got enough money to go to the event, right? There's all those little fine-tuning things that now it's going to change that look for sure.
Yeah. Everyone will figure it out. We've got an adjusted practice schedule now. We're going to see how it goes for the first event. I mean, it won't be based entirely off of our result at the first event. Is going to be kind of based off of how we feel after practice, and like, do we feel like we really maximized our time? Do we have enough time to go over these details that we usually do? And then we'll just adjust from there. That's what every team is going to do, just to try to figure out exactly what practice regimen will work for you.
Yeah, interesting. I appreciate that. Put your field one hat on now. A couple of rumors that we're seeing flying around that we thought we would ask you. Obviously, it's always difficult to ask an owner of a company about rumors. So I understand if you can't even comment. But we are seeing a few people commenting on Facebook and things like that about like a toolless force that's coming soon. And we were like, well, let's ask and see if we get anything from Yosh.
Yeah. Well, so to address, the difficulties of asking me, part of our thing here is like, if you call, it's likely that I'm going to pick up the phone. I'll be the one that you're talking to, whether you have a tech question or you want to buy a part or you have questions about the force or the AccuLock barrel or anything like that. You're going to talk with either Alex, Eric, or I. We're the ones that pick up the phone, and that's part of the design. We're a small company. We appreciate that interaction. We like feedback, all that stuff. So All good there. Happy to answer in the most honest way that I can. As far as, new products go, I mean, we have what we feel is a pretty good way to really ensure that what we put out there works well and is going to work well for players. And that involves a lot of field testing. People that were, paying attention when we introduced the Force probably realized that we were testing it on the pro field with the team for 9 months. For a lot of those months, it was taped up so people couldn't really see what it was. But, the entire team was shooting it so that we could gather a ton of data and make sure that we had worked out any issues and stuff. Same was true for the AccuLock barrel. It just wasn't on the radar for a lot of people. We tested stuff, and that's our model. I think anything grand and new that we come out with, people are probably going to see it in the hands of the team guys for a while before it actually becomes available, because we feel like that's a safe way to ensure that a product is awesome before it hits the shelves and before people can actually spend their money on it. That probably kind of answers the question on, whether we have a new release of a Force coming soon. I mean, if you haven't seen it shot by Dynasty, it's not coming soon. Now, with that, I will say we're always working on new stuff. There's actually been a handful of changes that we've implemented into the Forces that we're building today that a lot of people don't know are updates. But, we feel like if there's a part of the gun that we want to update that would provide better performance or reduce maintenance or be easier to assemble, easier to disassemble, we've made some of those changes along the way so that we could continue to improve the product. I mean, we're players, right? So we always want to have the best possible product in our hand that we can. And that was kind of our way of taking feedback in. If there was something that could be done about it, we make those changes. And so I tell people, they ask me I have one of the first Forces made. What's the difference between that one? Well, there's some small internal changes. I think the first Forces that we made shot really good. In fact, I still have one. It travels with me in my gear bag as a backup. But I will say that the Forces we're making today and sending out to dealers and sending out to customers are probably a little bit better than the ones that we first made. And that's just kind of the nature of it. We've had this slow change to some updated parts. With all of that being said, we don't have this new Force coming anytime soon, although we are working on stuff. People will most likely see what we're working on well before it becomes available. So, the same is going to be true. I get questions about a new Force, a new Intimidator, all of that stuff. The same is true for all of those things. We are working on the Intimidator project. It's a big one. We don't want to let people down, right? We want to come out with something that is better than the G6R. We want to come out with something that is going to make people who are Intimidator enthusiasts very happy. And that takes time. And we've been developing that and working on that for years now. It's not just going to pop out as a surprise, people are going to see us using it and testing it. And then that'll be an indicator that we're in that phase. And like I said, for the Force, that phase was about 9 months. Right. Sometimes it could be shorter. I imagine sometimes it could be longer than that too, the way things go. But yeah, that's kind of our approach to it. So, I mean, I appreciate everybody curious and asking about it, but we really love the way that this Force is shooting, and we're working on ways to improve it, and yeah, hopefully at some point in the future we'll do a full remodel.
All right.
But for now, we're just working on getting these in people's hands because there's still a ton of demand for them, and we're just trying to boost our production.
Yeah, when we ask for them, there's always I can put you on the list and things like that. So it's always a good problem to have in some ways, right? That they're so popular.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, we say that sometimes, like, this is a good problem to have, but really we'd like to be able to fulfill, everybody that wants one should be able to have one. So we're working at that. That's kind of our primary thing right now is getting our production up. Like I said, we're a small shop. Everything is built here in this shop here in California. And we're working on getting those numbers higher so that more people can be shooting the Force this season.
Nice. Well, Yosh, I asked you for half an hour. We're probably at about that half an hour spot. So I'm going to thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for being part of the first episode of Catching Up with Dynasty.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah, Junior, actually, on a personal note, I just want to say that I am extremely appreciative of you and Gina and the crew at BFPGear. I mean, we've worked closely together for years, obviously with Field One, but on a personal level, you guys have always been nothing but supportive of me and the team, and I'm really stoked that we're officially partnering for the season so that Dynasty and BFPGear can be officially aligned and do some really cool stuff together.
Great. We are very appreciative as well. Thank you very much, Yosh.
All right. Thanks, Junior.
Thank you.
You too.
Well, there we have it. Our first episode, Catching Up with Dynasty with Yosh. That was an awesome chat. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, turn the bell on for notifications. Any comments, hit them below. We'll do our best to answer them. And if you want us to speak to a certain player next, let us know who to contact. We'll definitely have access to Dynasty all season long. Stick around, enjoy the ride. We appreciate you. And don't forget, shopbfpgear.com.